Hi there. Today I want to share with you my anxiety nausea story. So I want to share with you the details that I may not have gone into in the past. Just a really long story of how it came and how I overcame it. Would you believe it? Would you believe me if I told you that at one stage I couldn't leave the house? I wasn't able to eat much. Like even eating a slice of watermelon was really difficult. I just wouldn't be able to go out and interact with people. I'd be scared to see a movie. I could barely even enjoy having friends over or anything like that. Like at one stage I just remember distinctly just being put off by even a piece of fruit. And it scared me because I thought, like, what's the point? I couldn't even understand why I was feeling that way, and it was just really difficult to it was really difficult to deal with it when I didn't even know what was causing it. And most of the time I was so nervous about the anxiety itself that it just triggered this horrible cycle of never-ending anxiety. So what I wanted to tell you today is the full story of my anxiety nausea. Well, I was always told as a kid that I had trouble eating. What I mean by that is I just wouldn't eat very much, and my parents would do a lot, or my mom would do a lot to help try to go and look for doctors and get help, but I just really didn't want to eat. And it started really when my grandfather and grandmother moved away. Well, I had to kind of move to a different city and I wasn't able to see them, and it just triggered a lot of anxiety. Even though at that young age I had no idea what it was, and neither did my mom. We kind of just assumed that I had bad appetite, but now to think back, it was an anxiety. But when I came to Australia, I was fine for a while, and it was around the 8th grade, which is the first year of high school, that I started to notice it full blast. I'll always remember the way I remember it was I was going to school, because at that time I was taking a bus to school on my own, and I would just be walking up and I would be drinking like one of those juice pops or whatever you call it. And as I was walking into the school, I would just feel like really nauseous, and I would not understand why, because at the time we didn't really have Google and phone that you can connect to the internet and search on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. So I couldn't even find out why I was feeling that way. All I knew was I had a really bad bout of nausea, and it terrified me because I was always afraid of being sick and I didn't know how to get rid of it. All I knew was as I was walking to the school, I felt really nauseous, and I went in and I kind of had to just deal with it. And I didn't tell anyone about it, of course, because back then I just thought people wouldn't even understand or think of me as crazy, so I kind of just didn't say anything, and I would go to school just feeling nauseous, and that's the start of it. So because I was going to a new school that I didn't know anyone there, and starting new stuff has always been extremely challenging for me. I always thought it was very, very hard to go to a new school, to meet new people. I didn't even know how to make friends. It was just so hard for me, and the school was really big compared to my primary school, and there was just so many people I didn't know, and I was terrified. So as I walked in the school, I just felt so nauseous, and since then onwards I started getting the same kind of nausea every single day as I was going to school. So as soon as I would enter that part of the building or I approached somewhere, I would just feel the nausea coming on, and that's what terrified me, because I felt like I was really sick or something like that. I didn't know why I was getting nauseous. I didn't even know anxiety was a thing, and I just felt nauseous, and I would have to just know that it stays for about an hour or two and then slowly goes away during the day. And yeah, and that's when I realized that sometimes eating things or drinking stuff would aggravate the anxiety nausea, so I would start to eat less and drink less, especially if I know I'm going on a bus or going to walk to school. So that's when I started to just not want to eat as much. I started to eat less as I was going to school, and there was a few times when I got picked up by the car and it kind of helped a little. So I thought, okay, so if I have to go on a bus, then I'm going to be sick. So I kind of associated going on the bus as something that's going to trigger my anxiety nausea, and that kind of stuff kind of went on until I'll always remember the first few months of school we had an event in the afternoon where we could play sports or whatever and meet people, a barbecue or something, and I was just so nervous, and I just get the severe anxiety, nausea, and the teacher even asked like, what's wrong, are you okay? And one morning I remember going to school and like I had a big nosebleed. Apparently stress may have caused it, I don't know. So this was just a very difficult time, and I was really young and I didn't know, and it was not until one day I picked up one of those like girlfriend slash dolly magazines, you know, those kind of magazines aimed for teenagers. I had a look, and there was a part in the magazine that had someone write their experience or write a letter to someone or talking about their experience, and someone said on the magazine that says, I felt anxiety and I got nauseous. And that was the first time I had ever heard of the word anxiety, and like someone who could actually feel sick from worrying. And that's when I started to realize, oh, that's a thing. Like, oh my god, there's an actual name for it, and there's one other person in the world that's also going through it. So I thought, oh, I'm not alone. That's the first time I felt a glimmer of hope that someone could understand me, because before then I just didn't even dare to think about it. I kept to myself. I didn't tell anyone. I was just too scared because I thought people would just laugh or not understand. So anyway, I kind of just left it at that, and it went on, and it got worse over time because I started to get really anxious over getting sick, or the potential of being sick, or the nausea itself terrified me because I was emetophobic as well. I was really scared of vomiting. So the thought of being sick and not being able to control it, and going out and being stuck in public with people I don't know looking at me while I'm feeling really anxious, just made me feel so terrified. And that's when I started to get really nervous about going out. And one day my parents invited a friend, their daughter was over, and maybe their daughter or two other girls were over, and we were watching videotapes. Remember those days, VHS tapes? We were watching videotapes in my room, and as I was watching, I just felt something was not right. I rushed into the bathroom, I locked the door, and I sat in there, and I could feel a panic attack starting. That was the first time I think I remember having a full-blown panic attack, and it was something that it started off just being a bit nauseous, and it got to the point where I got so bad that I felt like I was going to actually throw up. And I got to a point where I think I was retching or something like that, and it was just horrible. I felt so scarred and so terrified, and I was just trying so hard to force that feeling back down because I didn't want to get sick. So I locked myself in there. From then on, like, even having friends over would terrify me because I'd be associated with the bad memory. I would think, oh god, it's gonna happen again. And one time we went to see the movie, and I still remember it was like a free movie ticket that I got. It was to see the second Harry Potter movie. So that's how long ago this happened. When the second Harry Potter movie was out, we went to see, and for some reason we were at the front row, and that was a really bad idea because the noise was very loud and the flashing lights, and I think sometimes the loud noise, the flashing lights, and being in an environment where I'm just in like a big setting where there's a lot of people around, it just really triggered the anxiety. And I remember feeling so anxious and so sick from nausea that I had to rush out of the cinema. And of course my parents were really worried. They're like, are you okay? And I said, oh god. And from then on, I just couldn't even go and see a movie. And things like seeing a movie, going to a concert would become unbearably scary for me. I remember like how much I wanted to see concerts of my favorite singers or bands, but I would be terrified of going there because, I don't know, just being in a crowd and feeling like I'm stuck there is the most terrifying feeling ever. And like not being able to control it and not knowing if I'm going to be sick or not. So that was just horrible. I got panic attacks triggered from just going out then. So I would often just stay home for a long time, a period of time. For example, I would stay home for like maybe 6 weeks at a time during the holidays. If I didn't have to go to school, I would just stay home. I just would be not trying to go out. Going out would trigger some kind of anxiety, and I remember just expecting the nausea coming on at the same time every day. I would be like, oh god, it's gonna come. And some days I'd be so good and I wouldn't get any nausea, and other days like I would just get it like 2 or 3 times a day, and it would drive me crazy because I didn't even know what caused it. I didn't realize that little triggers can just trigger the nausea, and then it would escalate because I would be scared of being nauseous, and the cycle would never end. And every time I talked to my parents about it, they got really panicked, and especially my dad, he just got really panicked and he didn't really know how to deal with it, so he would get panicked, and the panic that when he was panicked, it kind of made me feel more panicked, so it kind of triggered me to learn not to say anything, because I knew if I said something they'll panic, and then it made me feel even more worried. So I kind of learned to keep it to myself at home, and my appetite really started to go down, and I just couldn't eat very much at all. It became a time where I would hear the words dinner's ready or lunch is ready or food's ready, and the nausea would just click right there, right then. It would just click like that, and I would feel like, oh my god, if I ate anything I would be sick. And it's funny because I knew I had to eat. I knew I really wanted to eat, and I knew that if I don't eat I would get skinnier and, you know, get really weak. But I just couldn't, I didn't have the appetite, and I didn't know how to make myself feel hungry. And I just got to a point where the words dinner's ready would trigger a major panic attack, and I would just be sitting there with the food feeling like, oh my god, I'm pressured to eat it, but I can't because I'm nauseous. What am I going to do? And that's when I talked to my mum about it, and I said, please don't pressure me to eat at that point. I just really need to know that I can eat it over like a period of time. I don't have to sit at the dinner table with everyone watching me eat or not eat. So she said, okay, that's fine, you can just eat whenever. And I always got her to just try to calm me down by saying, you can eat anytime, you don't have to eat it right now, you can eat it slowly over the day, and you're not gonna die, because I was afraid I was gonna die. So like the anxiety, nausea caused not eating is very different from the eating disorder where you don't want to eat because you feel like you're too skinny. It's where you want to eat but you just can't stomach the food, and you need to calm your mind down to be able to eat it. So I would often ask her to say these words because it just helped me calm down a bit. So that's when I was able to eat a little bit at a time, like maybe 2 spoonfuls of rice at a go before I felt really sick. And I was having trouble eating slices of watermelon. That was just how bad my anxiety nausea was, and I started to get really skinny, and I didn't know how to handle it. At school it was also really bad. There were like moments that would trigger my anxiety nausea to the absolute max, and that is like speeches. You know, at high school then we had to read palm cards, go to the stage and do a lot of speeches, and those would really trigger like a panic attack that's so bad. And back then I had this thing where I felt like if I had a bottle of water with me, I'm safe. And it all stems down to one time when I was sick as a child, maybe about 4 years old. My grandfather told me that if you throw up, drink water and it will help you. And I didn't understand what he meant then. I thought he meant that drinking water will cure me, so it will not make me get sick anymore. So I thought, okay, water is my magic potion. And even though what he meant was drinking water will wash out the taste and it will make you feel better, but I didn't know. So I always thought water would be the one that will save my life. So I had to have a water bottle with me. If I didn't have a bottle of water with me, I would feel extremely panicked. And that was when I started getting panic attacks going to school assemblies, because school assemblies, you know, you don't bring your bag, you don't bring anything, you just walk down there. And I just, like, even that like hour of time where I didn't have my water with me, I would feel extremely panicked. And I don't even know how I dealt with it. I think I may have thought of putting like water in a little bottle and put it in my pocket or something. I don't even remember how I dealt with that, but that was also another big trigger. And one day I had to like leave the assembly, and the teacher was seeing me in the toilet just shaking, and she's like, are you okay? And I told her about the panic, and she was very kind and understanding, which I'm so grateful for. But it just goes to show that sometimes you have to really tell someone. You might think that, oh, nobody understands, but you don't know until you've tried. And just because one person overreacted or does not know how to help you doesn't mean everyone's like that. And you've got to really try to think, okay, who can I trust to tell? Because there are people, I really do believe that there are at least one person out there who can really help you. So anyway, I was just extremely panicked about going to assemblies. Just little things like that would trigger a full-blown panic attack. I'd be feeling fine one moment, and then second I just feel like I'm about to be sick. And it really was the most terrifying thing to not know how to get out of the situation and know that people around me are watching. So that was extremely difficult. And this kind of went on and on and on, and throughout high school I just had on and off really bad bouts of anxiety nausea. And I didn't really know how to treat it. And whenever I said I felt so anxious, and could I see a doctor or psychiatrist, my parents would be like, well, my mum would be like, oh, I don't trust doctors or medicine, because she had really bad experiences with medicine, and she just does not trust in it at all, and she always talked me out of getting help in that way. And she said, like, if you go see a psychiatrist, they'll definitely make you take medicine, so don't go. And I went anyway for a period of time, but I kind of had to not take the medicine. I was too scared to take the medicine, so it kind of really just went nowhere. Anyway, so my anxiety, nausea was just so out of control at one point. I'll always remember at night, sometimes I would be feeling extremely panicked, and the panic attack would be full blown, and I would be lying in bed at night just trying so hard to get rid of it. Like the amount of times I tried to listen to calming things and trying to think positive, you wouldn't even be able to count the times that I would try to distract myself with a book or something positive and just kept thinking like it'll be okay. And even then, like, I could feel like the nausea came in waves. It was just like this really horrible feeling, and sometimes it would take me actually retching to the point where I'm almost going to throw up for it to go back down. And whenever that happened, I would be so traumatized afterwards. I just feel like myself shaking, and it was just a really, really terrifying experience. And I remember at one stage I was like, oh, I need to go look for some help, and that was when I had the internet, so I kind of was able to look up online more of anxiety, and I looked up a lot of information, and I was really happy I was able to find something that really resonated with me. And there was one person, I can't remember his name, I think it was Charles something. He had an anxiety course that I promised to get rid of the anxiety, and I thought, okay, it was $90, so I paid it, and I looked at it, and it was really good at explaining about anxiety and how it's like your fear radar is on full-blown high. So it's one thing I've noticed is that when you have anxiety, sometimes you have a good point where you're like really good for a period of time. Like, for example, like I had 6 months where I didn't get any anxiety, nausea, and they were like so good, and I felt, oh my god, maybe I am getting better. And all of a sudden something triggers it, like for example, maybe like a family friend just got sick or something, and I would just go all the way down, and then I would start having panic attacks every single day, and I would just be staying down, and I would often compare my downtime with my uptime and think that, oh, like, I must be getting so much worse, and I was getting better, why am I getting so bad now, like why is this happening? And I just wouldn't understand why this kept happening, and I was so frustrated. And I found that course, and I thought I would buy it, and I looked at it, and it was very helpful in helping me understand why this happened, more about like the human fear radar or whatever. Like sometimes it's like sometimes you need to reset it so that you go back to the normal high points where you don't get any nausea. So I just followed by as much advice as I could. It didn't get rid of it completely, of course not, but it at least gave me some strategies. And I remember finding, because the anxiety package I bought online at that time was aimed at general anxiety and not specifically nausea, I found it very hard to follow some of the other things because I didn't experience those symptoms. So I really was looking for something that would really get rid of my nausea. So anyway, one of the things I think he suggested was chew an apple while I'm feeling nauseous or something, or feeling unwell. And I never really ate anything when I'm feeling sick, because when I'm nauseous, the last thing I want to do is be eating food to make me feel, I always felt more aggravated with nausea when I ate, so I never ate. But one thing that really helped me that he mentioned in his course was that if you're getting a panic attack, sometimes it really helps if you splash really cold water on you, because there's this reflex of the human body that as soon as you touch cold water, your heart slows down, and that's supposed to really help calm the anxiety symptoms a bit. And sometimes I found it really helpful. Other times I found, okay, maybe it's not helpful at that point, so I have to redo it 3 times for it to be even helpful. But I have found relief in that, and I find that the colder the water is, the better it is. So, and sometimes I just have to get to the point where I'm retching, and then it goes back down again, and I don't get the nausea anymore. And it's a good thing. I've always managed to control it to the point where I don't actually throw up, but still it just really traumatized me every single time. So, and that was bad moments I remember, but that does not top off 1 year where it was at its worst. And that was when I had to go to China, and my mum said, oh, by the way, her friend ate some sushi in China and started throwing up, and that just terrified me. I felt like I was going to be doomed because I was going in like a few weeks time, and I felt like, oh my god, as soon as I go there I'm gonna get sick because I'm gonna eat this bad food. It just really terrified me, and I didn't know what to do about it. I was so panicked about going, but at the same time I knew I really wanted to go because I wanted to see my grandparents who lived there, and I really just wanted to go, but I was so scared of the food that I felt like I was trapped either way, and I would just go into full-blown panic attacks. And back then, that was probably at the point where I ate the least out of all the time that I've been anxious. And I just remember having so much trouble eating any type of food. Like, I would just not feel hungry ever, and I would be really panicked about it. And then we went to China, and I was of course the same. I was so terrified of eating food, and I remember my grandparents would be like giving me a bowl of food, and I would just have so much trouble even eating that tiny little bowl of rice, and it was very hard. And that's when one day they decided to boil me some dong quai. I don't know, that's like in the English translation, or in Chinese it's dang gui, and it's like a very bitter kind of thing that people usually cook like as a bitter medicine to help with issues. I don't even remember what it's for, but they made some for me because they thought, okay, it might help me. And when I drank that, I surprisingly found that my appetite increased. So I thought, oh, why is that? So I just did a search, and apparently that really helps appetite. So that really helped me with my appetite a little bit, but it didn't really take the nausea away. I still got nauseous, but at least I was able to eat a bit more in each meal, and that was really good, because during the time where I wasn't eating very much, I was pretty much lying in bed all day, because in their place, my grandparents' place, was very small, and there was like a very little place to actually sit anywhere or walk around. So I ended up lying in bed watching TV most of the day. And I will always remember when I walked off onto the road, I felt like I could barely even see. Like, I felt so dizzy, and so it felt like my eyes were like just unable to even concentrate. I was just feeling so dizzy and just weak, and just, it was horrible. I felt like I was going to collapse at any moment, and that was the worst of it, I remember. And was that China moment. And of course, slowly time went past, and I was very lucky, didn't get sick from any food in China, and I went back to Australia, and that's when I really started feeling the relief, because I felt, oh, maybe I'm out of that, like, I'm going to be out of that potential risk of eating this poisonous food. I'm going to be safe, even though, you know, people get sick eating food everywhere in the world. But anyway, just my mind was like that. Anyway, I got back to Australia, and I was starting to slowly get better. And that's when one day I started to look at when I was at the chemist, I was looking around, and I thought, oh, this looked interesting. It was like this slab of ginger pills, and it said that helped with morning sickness, and it also helped with what is it called? Motion sickness. And I thought, oh, interesting, that looks quite interesting. I wonder if it would help me. And I just thought, okay, maybe I'll just try it. So I bought it, and I went home, and I thought, okay, maybe next time I feel nauseous, I'll just try taking one and see how it goes, because come on, if it helps morning sickness and travel sickness, surely it could help with my nausea, even though it's a different type of nausea. Anyway, I just took it, and I decided to take it home and try it. I'll always remember the first time I tried the ginger, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I took 2 down, and I immediately felt some kind of warming feeling in my stomach, and it was like it was countering or battling the nausea. It was really felt so amazing. I just loved that feeling of warmth, and like, it took a while for it to kick in, but it was pretty fast. But I just felt instant relief. I was so excited. I just thought, I've been cheated my whole life because I didn't know about this until now. I could have saved myself 7 years of agony and panic attacks what was I thinking? Like, I was just so mad about that, and that's when I really wanted to start making like an article or videos about it, because I thought there might be other people who were in my situation who didn't even know that something like ginger could help. And I just thought, like, I really wish I had known about it earlier. It would have saved me so much pain for so long. All the nights of nauseousness where I couldn't eat and felt so sick, I could have taken it. And that's when I had ginger with me all the time. And back then, the ginger I took were the pill form, so it was not the capsules. I actually didn't start taking the capsules until I went to America, which my partner bought me the capsules, and at first I was like, oh no, I can't take the capsules, it's different. But then I found that the capsules work pretty much just as well. It just had to make me take 3 pieces rather than 2. Anyway, just because the ginger was there, it doesn't mean the nausea didn't go away, because the ginger kind of just helps the symptom. It does not take the panic away, and it does not take the nausea, it doesn't prevent the nausea. So you're always gonna be nauseous, or like for me, I always felt nauseous, even though I always got something that triggered my nausea, and the ginger would be what I take to try to get rid of that feeling after it came. So ginger was not a preventive thing at all, it just helped with the symptoms. And sometimes if I'm feeling extremely nauseous, like for example, sometimes certain foods might trigger my nausea, like I'm not that tolerant on milk products, so sometimes if I eat some food with a lot of like cream, heavy cream, I would feel really nauseous. Or sometimes if I eat a cold salad and bread and then drink a lot of water, I would feel really sick. Or something even very spicy food will make me feel really sick. So I had moments where I would feel extreme nausea, and I would take so many ginger pills. And it's a good thing that the ginger will not be cannot be overdosed if you take 10 at a time, because I took like 10 pieces of ginger at once. It was just the ginger pill that was like you get at the chemist, or the ginger, capsules. I never took ginger tea or ginger or anything else, because I don't know, just didn't really want to drink stuff when I'm really nauseous, and I tend to take the ginger capsules with the little plastic thing. I took it without water. It just helped me a lot more, because water kind of makes me feel a bit more uncomfortable. So I always felt relief in just taking ginger by its own. At one stage I got a job, and that job was to go to someone's house to work on their website. And one day I'll always remember that I had kimchi or something that was really spicy, and it triggered something, and I had the biggest worst panic attack I've ever remembered, even though every single time I felt like I had the biggest worst. I was rolling on the ground, like crouched, just like feeling like this. I was just like this, just trying to wish away the nausea, and it was so strong that even ginger at that time was unable to help me. And it was just terrifying, because I felt like I was stuck in a place outside my comfort zone, and I didn't have any help, or my boss was away that day for some reason, and I was just so panicked. I didn't know how to overcome it. And that point I just felt so hopeless. It was like, what's the point if I'm always gonna feel like this in life? What is even the point? So I just went through, and then I went to America, and during that time I had pretty much anxiety to the full. And because my partner's dad is a doctor, he suggested for me to take a few supplements like inositol and magnesium, and that's what I did. And I may have found some kind of help in them, I'm not sure, because sometimes it's placebo effect. I don't know if it really helped. But one time we went to an Indian restaurant where they had a lot of creamy kind of food. I ate some. It was really bad for my anxiety, nausea, because I was nervous about going to a new restaurant anyway, because when you're in emetophobic, you can be very scared of going to restaurants you don't know or you don't trust. You might feel like, oh, I'm going to eat the food and get sick. So it was at night, and I was just terrified. I remember walking out of the restaurant, just standing by the door, and I could feel the nausea getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's the kind of feeling you get when you get anxiety nausea, is the nausea kind of comes in waves. It comes, and then it's like, oh, I feel a bit okay, and then it comes and it's worse than before, and then it comes and then it's worse, to the point where you feel like you're going to get sick. And at that point you either do or don't. And luckily I've never actually thrown up from any of my nausea or anxiety, but there were times where I really felt like I was so close to being sick. And every time I kind of went close to starting to consider the idea of taking medicine for it, someone would talk me out of it by saying, oh, you shouldn't even do it if you absolutely have to, because the negative side effects will always triumph everything. And those kind of things just really terrify me. So I thought, okay, I won't take any medicine, and I just have to deal with it. I went through another 2 or 3 years getting an anxiety, nausea on and off, but during that time I got so much better with my appetite because ginger really helped me with that. That was when like I was able to eat my full meals again because I was able to take ginger if I feel nauseous, and then when I took ginger I was able to eat more, and it just really opened up my appetite. So that was super helpful. And during that time it kind of was at the best point of my life while I was in America, even though I was pretty much terrified being in a new country. I wasn't able to go anywhere, but then again I did spend most of my day at home, so that's probably why I didn't even go anywhere. I came back to Australia, and that's when over my second year of having my son Lucas is when I started to take medication for it, like antidepressant, and it has overall really helped my anxiety, nausea, because now I find that I'm actually able to deal with stressful situations better than before. Even though it's still there, I can still feel it, but it's just, for example, in the past if it was 150% of panic, now it's 100%. So you can still feel it's there, but it's nowhere near as bad, and it just makes life slightly easier. And I'm just so thankful because right now my appetite is so good that people look at me and go like, what, how are you able to eat so much? And I look at myself and I can't believe that at one stage I was not able to eat that much at all. I was just not even able to eat like a tiny bowl of rice, and now I'm like eating 5 bowls. It's just so crazy. I just can't believe it, and I feel so good about life now, and I'm able to go anywhere. And these days I don't even panic about having water or having ginger. I mean, some days I make sure I have like a couple of pills in my bag, but I mostly am not panicked like I used to. I just feel so free now. It felt like I never thought, when I was in my lowest point, I never thought I would be where I am now, where I'm able to go anywhere, like just, you know, look on Google Map, hey, I feel like going to this place, so I just take the bus, and I don't even know where I'm going, and I'm just going there, having some fun and coming home. I never thought I would be able to do that, or just be able to eat in any place I want and not feel the extreme panic. And now I'm able to do all of that, and I just feel so good and so hopeful. And that's why I want to share my story and tell you that even if you're at the worst part of your life and it's looking at its worst and you feel hopeless, there is hope and there's light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to find ways that could really help you, and talk to someone who could really help you, and don't listen to the doubts of, oh, maybe I won't do this because of the side effects, because that really destroyed me for a long time, and I could have found relief so much sooner and lived my life better for so many years, but I didn't. I just didn't ever think I would be where I am now, and that's why I want to share my story, and I want to give you guys some hope that no matter how dark it seems right now, there will be a day where you can look past and look at your past and think like, I got through that. There is hope. So that's what I really wanted to show you, and I really hope that you take care of yourself. There are other videos in my playlist for how to deal with anxiety, so please go check those out. I really just hope that you get better. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's a very long video. Thank you very much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I will see you later.